Hey friend, how are you doing? I hope you are having an awesome July. I know I am. And as I said in last week's episode, I am taking some time off of social media, but I'm still bringing you some awesome past collaborations that I've done for the month of July. So you're going to be getting the best of the best collaborations and interviews that I've had the privilege of doing over the last few years. These are my favorite ones. So today is with a copywriter who I actually worked with. I highly, highly recommend her. She helped me to create my brand voice messaging guide. And this kind of keeps all of your ideas in a beautiful little compartment. So I would highly recommend reaching out to Val Casola. I will put the link down below if you want to get more clear on your message. Now, before you go, I want to know, are you a Catholic woman in business? Because next Wednesday, July 17th, I will be hosting inside of their membership a talk called Speak with Authority and Conviction. If this is something that you want to be able to do more of and do it in a God-centered way, then I invite you to join us. I will also place that link down below to join us next Wednesday, July 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern for a beautiful interactive presentation and live Q&A and discussion with other Catholic women in business. All right, beautiful. I hope you are having a beautiful summer. Put on your earbuds, go relax outside, and enjoy today's episode. Do you dream of sharing your message on stages, but are still terrified you'll mess it up? Want to crush your online videos so that you can grow your business, but you feel super awkward and hate the sound of your voice? Or maybe you simply want to feel more confident in the boardroom without reading your notes and fumbling over your words? Hello, new friend, and welcome to the Speaking and Storytelling Podcast, a show for Christ-led entrepreneurs and leaders who want to make a humongous impact in the world. I'm so glad you're here. I'm your host, Emanuela, a stage actress and playwright turned speaking coach and story consultant. Whether you want to master speaking on stages, online, in the boardroom, or the classroom, if you believe you're meant to make an impact in the world and you know your voice and story is the ticket to get you there, then this podcast is for you, my friend. Over the past 4 years, I've helped dozens of entrepreneurs find and tell their stories, speak with authority, and captivate their audience so that they can grow their visibility, further their God-given mission, and change the world. If you're ready to do that too, then sit back, grab a pen and paper, and enjoy the show. We have a very special guest here today. We're going to be talking all about crafting your message and sharing it confidently. And I have the beautiful Val Casola with me. Val, I think we met through Jillian. We were in like a live call or a networking call. And when I went to Val's page and she talked all about story, you guys know that I love talking about stories and delivering them with confidence and impact. And just reading everything that Val does, I was like, this is someone I need to talk to. So we've been chatting back and forth, and we thought this might be a fun way to share some of what she does with all of you. And I hope you will reach out to her after this. Let me give you a little bit of a backstory. I'll just let you know who she is. Val is a copywriter and brand storyteller. She helps creative and lifestyle brands articulate the value of their services and tell a transformational story that makes their prospects excited to invest in their offers and solutions through compelling and intentional website sales pages and email copy. Thank you so much, Val, for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I am so excited, and honestly the same. Once we met and I went to your page and I saw everything that you were doing and this emphasis that you place on storytelling and how we can all be better storytellers, like verbally, I knew that there was a lot of synergy between us and we could have a really awesome and valuable conversation. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah, we're going to talk about some great stuff today, you guys. Val is going to take us behind the scenes, right? Because, and I actually make my clients write everything out too, because I think we need to, when we have it on paper, we can see it visually and it'll help us speak it better. But so she's going to talk about what foundational pieces of your brand you need to get crystal clear on so that you can create messaging that brings right fit clients to your inbox. And then we're going to talk about how to figure out exactly what your ideal client needs and wants to experience and infuse that into your messaging. And then I'll talk a little bit about how we can speak about that with confidence and talk about our business and our offers. So we need to get clear on these certain things before we can even talk about it. And that's what Val is going to help us with today. So is there anything else I missed about your intro that you want to share with us?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, awesome. Then let's jump in. So maybe let's start. What exactly are those foundational pieces? What do you want to say about that?
Yeah. So I want to just give some context to this idea of developing your message and your brand messaging framework, because that's really what I'm going to talk about today. Um, I feel like so much of my job as a copywriter is helping my clients put their message together. And I know what it's like to, you start your business and you think like, okay, I have a business now. Just because I have a business, I have a message that I need to share, and that message is going to come to me as I go. And of course, that's true, right? You're never going to start your business and know exactly who you are, what you want to do, who you want to serve, what that transformation is going to be, what those results are going to be. You never know that from the onset. And if we did, our life would be so easy. But, as we grow and evolve as entrepreneurs, we realize who we want to serve, who we want to be, what we want to do, how we want to do it. And it's totally fine for those things to evolve and change and grow with us as we do. That's just the natural path of entrepreneurship. And that's why it is so fulfilling and like it just helps us become better people. And something that I help my clients with when they come to me is a lot of the time, they've gone through all that. They've started in one place, and over time and experience working with clients and talking with other people in their industry and absorbing all different kinds of content, they've come to this beautiful place where they're like finally clear on exactly what they want to do, who they want to be, who they want to serve, how they want to do it. And it's all floating around in their brain. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming. Like say you sit down to write your website and, you're like, oh, I could talk about this. I could talk about, what I was thinking about this topic or this topic or this topic. And you end up getting so shell shocked and stuck because there's so many places you could start. You don't really know what has to go where and what you should focus on here and what's going to really enhance the customer journey as people are, taking in your copy and your messaging. And it can be extremely overwhelming. So something that I help my clients with is I help them make sense of all that marketing mush in their head that they're constantly thinking about and refining, and we get it put down on paper. And I typically do this through my brand and business questionnaire. So when people hire me to write for them, they're onboarded, they fill out a questionnaire, and it's a big old brain dump of their business and their services and who their ideal client is and all that. And that process really helps my clients. Like a lot of my clients will walk away from that experience saying, wow, I just learned so much more about my business because I took the time to intentionally sit down and answer these questions about all of these different topics. And I know that not everybody has access to a copywriter. Maybe it's a time thing, it's a budgeting thing. You're just not really sure if you can find the right one for you. Not everybody can go through that process. And I wanted to spend some time here kind of breaking down that process a little bit and sharing with you what I look for in my copywriting process that helps me put all the puzzle pieces together. And what I'm looking for is really the foundational pieces of your message. So like I said, just because you have a business doesn't mean you have a message, right? There's so many different components to a message that you want to share with others that is going to highlight the who, what, where, when, why, and how of your business. And we can't just fly by the seat of our pants every time we want to write copy that is going to move people into action and actually help us make sales. And when I say fly by the seat of our pants, I mean, like, we can't just rely on our brain to remember everything perfectly as we've always said it, as we've always thunk it, as we want it to be communicated. I know I've had these aha moments, like at the most random times. Like, I'll wash the dishes, so I'll be in the shower, I'll be about to fall asleep, and I get this sudden ping of like inspiration. And if I don't write it down, it's gone. So just relying on having your message kind of all put together in your head isn't really a great strategy to make sure you're consistent and you're creating a message that's going to captivate people. So that's why I always recommend putting together a brand messaging framework. And your brand messaging framework, it is truly the who, what, where, when, why, and how of your business. And I want to share just a handful of the key components that make up your brand messaging framework. So you can walk away from this conversation and start to think about these topics and brainstorm on them, and then take the time to just sit down and intentionally write them out so you can reference them whenever you need. So maybe you're writing a social media caption about a certain topic and you want to pitch your services at the end, and you think to yourself, like, oh, like, how do I talk about this? How do I talk about what makes me different? How do I talk about my mission, my vision, my values? Like, how do I usually say these things? And once you have all this written down, you can go and access that whenever you need. And it makes your life just a heck of a lot easier. So that's the importance of a brand messaging framework. And I'm happy to jump in to the different pieces that I like to include. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Yeah.
So far.
Well, I have some questions.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble seeing, for some reason, it's saying that the live stream ended, but it didn't, because it still says it's streaming on Zoom. So I'm not, let me try and refresh the Facebook page and see if I can get back in to see if there's any, oh, see, there we are. We are still going. Okay. I don't see any questions or comments coming through, but I do see that 3 people are watching. So friends, if you're here, just say hi. And if you have any questions for Val or me, just write them in the comments. And of course, if you're watching the replay, write anything there and just hashtag replay so that we make sure that we see them all. Or you can, oh, is that my phone? Oh, see, I'm at my parents' house. Can you hear the phone ringing?
No.
No. Okay. They have a landline. I'm like, what's going on? Okay. So for those of you that don't know, we had a bit of a furnace situation this morning. I'm at my parents' house. I just want to touch on some of the things you talked about, because you talked about so many really great things, like the whole journey. I bet you work with a lot of multi-passionate entrepreneurs. Because when you're talking, I'm like, like the twists and turns of my entrepreneurial journey. And I definitely have a bit of shiny object syndrome. So I'm crystal clear in like January, and then by July, I'm like, wait, how did I end up over here? And that's why I'm really interested in working with you and having that brand package done, because I definitely love a lot of things and want to incorporate like everything I love into my business. And I have to sometimes be like, hey, that can just be over here. It doesn't need to be a part of it. I don't know if any of you can relate that are watching, but do you find that you work with a lot of those people who are like all over the place, and you kind of help them like really focus on what their mastery really is?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm working with a client right now who is just like the very definition of a multi-passionate entrepreneur. And she's got so many different ways that she can help people. And she was really struggling to figure out how to talk about all of it in a nice way that just kind of sums up exactly what she does. And it took, a lot of conversations, a lot of back and forth to really work together to understand how each of the things she's passionate about relate to her overall mission. So that's even kind of the proof of how this brand messaging framework process like really works and really does bring you results, is that, all these ideas that you weren't sure about how to include in your business and how to talk about, we're sitting down and we're putting the map together. We're putting the roadmap together. We're putting all the puzzle pieces together, and what you feel like, doesn't really fit with one piece of your business, we're going to break down exactly like how that piece of your business serves your clients, what kind of transformation it brings them. And we're going to relate it back to how you serve your clients over here and how this part of your process works with this part of your process. So it's really just like sitting down, getting all of that stuff that's in your head that is important, but you don't know how to put it together. We're taking the time, we're putting it together, and we're getting it down on paper. So it exists, and you just have a different relationship with your message when it's written down and it's in the world versus when it's kind of just intangible in your head.
Oh, I feel so seen. I'm like, wait, so I don't have to like put shelf things? You can help me figure out how they fit? And Lavon is saying me all over. Yes, I know Lavon is also very multi-passionate. We have a lot of that in this group. And I think speakers and coaches in general are like, we just want to help people. So we're like, well, I can do that. I can help them with this. And I can do that. I can help them with that. Yeah, we have Crystal saying, I struggle to come up with storytelling copy. I feel like I've exhausted all of my ideas. Do you have any suggestions for generating storytelling ideas for a specific topic? Okay, so maybe we can get to that once Val can really talk about the foundational pieces that might be helpful. So what I'm taking away from this is like when you don't know, go back to the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and then maybe give us some more specifics that you were going to jump into now.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump into just a handful of pieces of your brand messaging framework. This certainly isn't an exhaustive list, but there are definitely places I would recommend getting started. And so the first thing that I would sit down and really flesh out is your story. And I know, Emanuela, this is your bread and butter, is helping people tell their stories and figure out their stories. So I think definitely there is a lot we can both say about this, but there's always this push and pull between, there's people out there saying like your story doesn't matter. People just want to know what's in it for them. And then there's also people saying, no, like your clients want to know you, like they want to know who they're investing in, especially if you're a service provider. And I tend to work with service providers in the lifestyle industry. So people who have a service that makes life easier, happier, healthier, more fun. And a lot of those like services come with a vulnerable side to them. So, if you're inviting someone into your life to work on a challenge that's really been making life difficult for you, like you obviously want to know that person. So there's this constant push and pull. And there are times where I will absolutely agree with both. Like, your copy truly like isn't written for you. It's not meant to glorify you. It's meant to talk to your client, your ideal client, and show them that, you recognize that someone's really struggling with X, Y, or Z. You have a solution for that. And here's how that solution is going to make this challenge better. But at the same time, like you ended up in this place. You saw a problem that you could solve, and maybe it's because you've experienced it before and you've solved it for yourself, or, you have the skills to solve it, and that really excites you. It makes you passionate and you want to start a business to do that for other people. So really like fleshing out your story and how you got to where you are, and considering questions, right? Like, who am I and why did I start my business? How does my experience relate to my ideal client's experience? Like, what did I go through, or what did I see or experience that is related to what this person I want to help is going through or experiencing? What's the story behind my business name? Because that can shed a lot about your values and how you ended up where you are as well. And also what qualifies you to serve your ideal client. So your experience, whether that be life experience, situational experience, educational experience, that's going to impact your story and how you ended up where you are. So that is one of the first things I would get clear about, is like, who am I? What am I here to do? Why am I here to do it? How I uniquely qualified in terms of maybe my education or my situational experience And really just getting clear on that is one of the first places I start with my clients. And it's a lot of fun too, because we get to go back and reflect on what brought us here. And there's a lot of power in that story. And people really tend to like feel a passion like resurfacing for their business and who they are and what they do when they think about these kind of questions. And, you know, peppering that in different places, maybe on your website or in your emails, or in your social media content, it can have a really big impact on how you connect with people in your audience.
I agree 100%. And what I think is really interesting is sometimes we think we've exhausted our story. We think we've told it. But then when you work with someone like Val and you actually have to sit down, or like in what we're doing in the story mini mind and actually going through the timeline, you're like, oh, I forgot about that. Or when you just ask these right questions. And even if you just took those 4 things she said, how you got where you are, how does my experience relate, the story behind your name, what qualifies you, like there you go. There's 4 different story posts, right? Like just those, you could go on a post about that or an email or a video or however you like to connect with your people. But I'm sure if you really sat down and started writing it out and visualizing it and going through it and try and always taking it back, like you said, to your client, like what is that? Right? It's both. I think it's yes, your story, and how does it relate to your client? I don't think it's one or the other. I think your story just shows them even more how you're the right fit for them.
Exactly. It's such a delicate balance. And I feel like the only person who really knows that balance is you. And also like you can rely on your analytics and things like that and see how the way you tell your story is resonating with your audience, but also like that balance I feel like is very intuitive. And as much as you want to tell, it's probably as much as your audience, or as much as you feel comfortable telling, is probably as much as your audience wants to know. So I would lean into that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Those are really, really helpful. And I'm sure you go even further and even more like down the rabbit hole to really help dig those things out. And I think that's what the beauty of having a copywriter is, or a coach who can like just help you find the things that you think on the surface you've said it all, you've exhausted it all. And here's another piece. You can tell me what your opinion is, Val, but I often say to people like, we know in marketing, you need 12 to 16 touch points for people to finally take action. So you may feel like you've told your story 100 times, but those same people aren't seeing it 100 times, A, and B, like they should know your story so that they can then go and tell. Like I've watched videos before and said like, then gone to my husband, oh my goodness, I watched this and her whole story was amazing. And you tell the story. Like, don't you want your dream clients and audience members and followers to know you so well that they can go tell your story to their friend when they're over having a glass of wine, and then that person goes and follows you, it might feel like you're saying it over and over again, but really when you're really clear and really connected, it should still excite you every time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to go off of that a little bit and say that, not everybody in your audience is ready to buy from you right now. Like there's the different stages of buyer awareness, and people come to you in different stages of their business and different stages of their life. And sometimes that repetition like moves people throughout the stage of awareness. And, just because you've had to say something 7 times and someone hasn't acted yet, it doesn't mean that they're not going to, right? So when you can continually remind people of the important things of your message, and you can do this through a lot of different facets of your message, but even just telling your story, like coming back to top of mind for someone, like someone could have heard your story and then, life gets in the way and they have to focus on other things, and then you bring them back. Because they hear that story again. And it's just this cycle, like not everyone is ready to buy from you exactly when they find you or when you find them. And being able to tell these compelling pieces of your message and your story, it always brings people back. So I keep that in mind too.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't feel like, okay, I've said it once. I made one post about it. They should see that one post. Moving on. Yeah. And Crystal, another suggestion I have for like generating story ideas is like journaling, right? Sit down and just say, what does my ideal client need to hear today? Because sometimes it could be a story that just happened to you yesterday. And how can you relate that? Once you have the message clear, which is what Val is so great at, you can always probably find a million ways to generate stories that lead into your message, right? Like
Yeah.
once you know what your message is, you could be at the grocery store and something could go down and you're like, I can infuse this somehow. I can use this. This can be content. That's
Every question that I'm going to suggest you brainstorm is an opportunity for a story. So like who you are and how your experience relates to your ideal client, that's a story. What qualifies you to serve your ideal client, that can be a story. What do you guys have in common? That can be a story. So like every question I'm going to ask you is going to open up a possibility for a story as well.
Yeah. I love that. It's just asking questions. So if you are doing this on your own, just keep asking questions. Get really curious, like a private investigator. All right. If you have any other questions, please pop them in the chat and we will keep going. So now once we have those foundational pieces, then we need to know exactly what they want to experience, right? Is this kind of part 2?
Yeah. So after you dive into like your story, I would then start to think about like, okay, why am I here? Like I have this story, I've been through this experience, or I've noticed that I have this problem, or somebody has this problem and I'm equipped to solve it, right? Reflect on like why you're even here and what kind of impact you want to make. And so this is you crafting your mission and your vision statement. And I know that, some people can get confused, like what's the difference between a mission statement and what's a vision statement? And I like to describe it as like your mission statement is the impact that you make in your circle. So the impact you make for your clients, your peers, your industry, that's the direct impact that your place in business is going to make. And then your vision statement is like, how does that impact change the world? So how does the impact that people receive from your services, how does that kind of not trickle down, but like multiply? And how does that change how people maybe look at a particular topic or experience a particular thing in business or in their life? Like what is the vision? How do you imagine that impact like multiplying tenfold? And how does that leave people better than where you found them? Or how does that leave the world better than when you found it? And really reflecting on your mission and vision, it's not only like really inspirational, but anytime you're sitting down at the computer and you're like, I'm not exactly sure what to say, like ask yourself, like, what am I here to do? Like what impact am I here to make? And that's going to be able to get your mind going as well.
I feel like just what you just said right now is worth like $1 million because I am one of those people that's like, hey, mission, vision. Not sure how they're different. So thank you for breaking that down. I finally feel like that makes sense. Yeah, because we're doing things at a micro level, but everything has that ripple effect.
Exactly. And I think that exercise leads really well into the next piece, which is crafting your unique value proposition. So if you haven't heard that term before, it's basically like what makes you different in your industry. So now that we've reflected on why am I here, what kind of impact do I want to make, let's think about, okay, how do I do that in my own unique and special way? And it also allows you to answer the question, right? Like, why should somebody pick you? So why should someone choose to spend their money with you over the other virtual assistant or the other nutritionist or the other, social media manager down the block, right? There's so many people who have the same skills that we do and they want to make maybe a similar impact, but our story gives us a unique perspective on the world. It gives us a unique perspective on our work. And we all value different things and we prioritize different things in our process. And that's what makes us unique in our market. That's what sets us apart from the other people who do what we do. And you really want to be able to answer that question, like what makes you different? Why should someone hire me? And that question is not only going to give you a lot of confidence, but it's going to help you be able to attract the right people to your audience and attract the right people to your world, and also repel people who aren't a good fit. Like people get so afraid of this idea of repelling people from their business, but like, just like you're not for everybody, your business isn't for everybody. And you can really help a specific person with a specific problem and help them achieve a specific result. And that might just not be the best result for somebody else. And you want to just make sure you're clear on like what makes you different and be able to use that to bring people in and push people out in an appropriate way.
Yeah, I think that comes with a level of maturity as you become a more confident entrepreneur, because in the beginning, for sure, and in the world of social media, like we are so easily fall into the trap of vanity metrics and wanting, more followers and everyone to like me. And I don't know if I told you the story when my account got hacked and I had like thousands of followers and then I had to start all over. And at first I was obviously devastated because I had like a lot of great content on there. But it kind of gave me this freedom to like get more clear and find more right fit clients and start a whole new, name. It was Emanuela speaking coach. Now it's just my name, but like I started adding more pieces of my story and my faith. And that became a piece of it too, because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't attracting the wrong, because I did have an experience where I attracted someone that was definitely not a good fit. And for both of us, like we both were like, this isn't, it's not good. So I thought maybe if I'm more clear upfront about this, then I don't have to have these awkward conversations with clients, because people know already when they come to my page what I'm about.
Exactly. And I think another thing that can help with that attraction and that repelling is also getting clear on your brand values. So that's another part of the framework too, is being able to recognize like what you stand for, what drives you forward, how you want to connect with people, and really getting clear on just like the values and morals that drive your business. That's also going to help you understand like what kind of relationships you want to form with people, how you want to talk to them, and how they can expect to experience your work, and also who you end up working with. Because of course everybody wants to work with people who have similar values and morals, especially if that plays a role in the type of work you're doing. So that's another thing you definitely want to get clear on, and that's another vital piece of your brand messaging framework, is just being really clear on your values and just reflecting on like, what do I stand for, what morals are going to guide my business and me forward, and how are these values built into the work that I do, and how can I share that with people to help them understand also whether or not they're in the right place to receive the support that they need.
Yes. It's such important work. And I think for a while, like we just resist it because we don't want.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
sorry. Just refreshing my page here. We don't want to like pigeonhole ourselves, or we feel like, and it goes back to, even the ideal client thing. People often struggle with that. They don't want to niche down because. Oh, are you getting feedback?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's just refresh here on what we've talked about. So Val has said we first want to flesh out our story, right? How you got here. How does your experience relate to your dream client? What's the story behind your name? What qualifies you? And then get more clear on your mission, your vision, your values, and then your unique value proposition. Why you? What makes you unique? Those are like, honestly, just going through those pieces, you'll get 20 pieces of content, and, anything you want to sell should relate back to that. Is there other things you want to add here?
Yeah, there's actually two more that I want to mention. And then I have all of this and more written down in a blog on my website. So I'm going to drop the link, and there's going to be even like, if you need to go back and you didn't take notes, or you want a reminder, like it's all in here and more that I'm not even going to talk about today. So I'll drop that as well.
Thank you.
But the last two, and I'll wrap them nicely together. You want to really be sure that you have created like a sample client profile, or like an ideal client profile. Because if you have a business that helps somebody, you want to know who this person is. Like, how can you expect to speak to this person and catch their attention and resonates with them and move them into action to interact with your business and become a customer if you don't even know who this person is. So this is definitely one piece you really want to keep in mind. Is just knowing who you want to sell to and who this person looks like. And, there's all different ways and like all different terms that refer to this, like an ideal client avatar, a persona, a profile, like whatever you want to call it. Feel free, but I would just make sure you're clear on like a handful of very specific things, right? You want to make sure that you know what this person is struggling with. You want to know what this person wants. You want to know why this person doesn't buy. Like if they have explored other solutions, like why have they said no? And then you also want to know like what has this person tried in the past that maybe hasn't worked. And when you get this really robust and well-rounded view of the person you want to serve, it's going to be so much easier to talk to them because you have things to talk to them about. Like talk to people about their problems and show them that you know what's going on and you're empathetic, and they'll start to think like, wow, like I don't even know Emanuela that well, but she knows what my life looks like right now. And she's telling me she gets it and she has something that's going to help me. I want to keep reading and I want to learn more. And I've got to figure out whether or not she's the person for me. And just like getting really clear on those things and reminding people what's possible for them and positioning your solution in a way that's different from how other people are talking to this person and anticipating their questions and their hesitations in your copy as well is going to take your copy from like not moving anybody into action or not making anybody feel anything to making them have that kind of like aha moment. Like, wow, this person can really help me. I need to know more. Mm-hmm. And then from that, you also really want to get clear on the transformation you have to offer. And I think this is where people stay in their heads the most and they experience the most resistance to like actually sitting down and fleshing this out. But people ultimately want to know like what's in it for them. Like we're all human. It's in our nature to want things and be a little selfish. And people think that's, I feel like society tells us that's bad. But in business, like we need to know how humans generally operate. And it's okay to want things. Like if people didn't want things, business wouldn't be a thing. We wouldn't be able to use our skills to offer things to people and change their lives. So really getting clear on what's in it for your ideal client and being able to really write down and understand, okay, life looks like this for this person right now. And then after they experience my solution, life is going to look like this. And that's really the crux of what people want to know. Like people aren't hiring you because you're a public speaking coach. Like they're hiring you because they want to have more confidence when they get up and speak in front of crowds, or they want to be less awkward, or they want to like conquer their fear, right? Like they're really buying the transformation and they're not hiring you because of your title. And that's where I see messaging fall flat all the time is people are so focused on like their credentials and their experience that they forget that the person's actually buying the transformation you can offer them. And so to be able to understand exactly what that transformation is that you provide and being able to write that into your messaging is a total game changer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was just on a call with a client and she had never sat down and fleshed out her ideal client avatar. And so I call it like your ideal audience member, because when you're talking to an audience, you want your ideal client to be sitting there because they eventually want to work with you if you are a coach or someone who offers something other than just speaking. And I was surprised by that she's been working with business coaches and hadn't done that because that is like 101. Like if you don't know who you're talking to, how can you talk to them? Exactly. And if you don't know what you're even selling, like it's very tricky in this world where we are doing coaching. Most people in this group are coaches of some sort or content creators. It's different. Like my husband runs an asphalt ceiling and line painting business. Now his marketing is a lot simpler. It's like, I fill your potholes. You have a pothole, I fill it. You have a bad driveway, I seal it. Like, it's pretty straightforward, but we want it that cut and dry, right? Even when we're coaches and stuff that is a little, I find people, it's hard to pinpoint when it's more of an internal transformation, right? Like, but it's very hard to sell confidence, right? And even for me, like, I can't just say, I'll make you feel confident. Well, what does that look like? Like, what does that mean? So what? So what if I'm more confident? Then what happens? Well, then people will see you as an authority. People will want to work with you. People will, trust you if you can speak confidently. So it's, again, like you said before, going even deeper than you think you need to go and going down the rabbit hole with your ideal client and really seeing what they want and why do they want it.
Exactly. You have to peel back the onion like one layer deeper than you think you have to go. And when you keep doing that, things become so much more clear, and writing and marketing is going to get so much easier for you.
Yes. Thank you. Your wisdom has been so wonderful today. And then, so is there something, or did we cover all the pieces you wanted to cover?
There's a few we didn't get to, but like I said, I will drop the link to that blog post I have. I don't know, can I drop it in the Zoom?
Yeah. You can drop it in the comments. I just accepted you into the group. So maybe you can go in and drop them in the comments there, or even just in the group, because I'm sure that'll be really helpful. And if there's anything else, like I just know we wanted to talk a little bit about talking about it. So basically, I mean, I'm going to give you some pointers here, friends, but if you do everything that Val just talked about, you will inevitably speak with more confidence because you'll be clear. And I say clarity equals conviction. When we know and we are rooted in that foundation and we're like, this is what I stand for. This is who I am. This is who I serve. When it's super clear, I know for myself, like I was very wishy-washy for a long time. And the more clear you can be, the more you're going to speak with conviction, the more it's going to land when you open your mouth. But there's obviously some differences when it comes to writing the copy and then when it comes to speaking, because we can know it all in our head, we can have it all on paper, and then suddenly we're face to face with a client or we're on a live call like this and we choke up for whatever reason. And I know some of you have worked with me already. Lavon is saying that's a great takeaway. Clarity equals conviction. Yes. The clearer you get, the more convicted you'll be and the more you can speak to it. But one thing, which I'm sure, Val, you talk to your clients about, is speaking to the one, right? So this goes for writing, I'm sure, and on video, right? So if you're doing it on camera and you're jumping on, you're doing a live, still imagine just that one person, right? I think often we're like, I want all these clients. Picture that one person. And I've even told people, like, if you need to get a picture and like post it on your phone, like a friend of yours that you have or someone you know who's in your world that you're like, I could really help them, and you know what their problems are, talk to them like you talk to your friend. Just talk to them. Right. I think it takes a lot of that public speaking fear away when we think of just talking to that one person who we know needs us. And then confidence also comes from competence. So conviction comes from clarity, but confidence comes from competence. When we develop our skill set, we will be more confident. I can't be confident at playing the violin if I have never developed the skill because I've never actually learned how to play the violin. And yes, we can get competent from just doing it, like you said, just winging it, right? But we will be more confident if we actually learn the skills. And I am going to be running the Captivating Speakers Academy again next month. So that is where we actually go over your presence, which is your body language, your breath, your voice, mastering your resonating tone, how you deliver your message, right? Are you speaking to the one? Are you pausing? Are you breathing? Are you making more impact in certain areas? Like, are you talking a little faster in certain areas? Are you using a certain tone? What's the feeling, right? And I think what you're doing, Val, is so great because it's on paper and you can read that out loud. So I would encourage you guys to do the work on paper, write it out, and then read it out loud. Because if it sounds, do you do this at all, Val? Like when you're writing copy, do you read it out loud? Because I've often written copy, I'm all in my head or I'm on my phone. And then I read it after I posted it and I'm like, that's, that sentence isn't actually how I talk at all. So you
Mhm.
need to actually, if you want to let people feel you and feel authentically you and get a sense for who you are, make sure your copy sounds like you. Because we all say things a little bit differently. And also make sure you're using words that your ideal client uses. I'm sure you talk about this too, right? So when you're asking people questions like, how do you struggle with this? Do you struggle with that? And then when they give you answers, you want to use those actual words when you're talking to them.
Yes, yes. That is, I could talk your ear off about utilizing voice of, that's what this is called, voice of customer. When you actually use the language that your ideal client uses and you put it into your marketing, that is another game changer for your copy, for your social media, your emails. Because when you're that's another way to create that experience. Like, wow, like Emanuela really understands me. Like, I talk to, my mom or my sister or my best friend about all these struggles that I'm going through, and she's saying some of the exact stuff that I say to them. Like, clearly this woman knows what she's talking about. I'm in the right place to get the support that I need. Like, I need to learn more. So I love that you said that. And that's
Yeah.
a huge component of all the projects that I do in my studio. And I try to like shout that from the rooftops, like, please, like, go out and learn what your ideal client is saying, learn how they're speaking, learn what phrases and terminology that they use, and put that in your marketing. And that's really how you're going to capture their attention and keep it on the page.
And ideally, there will be a sweet spot where it's what your ideal client is saying, and also you can say it in your own way to make it still feel authentic to you, right? Because
Mhm.
I mean, 90% of the time, your ideal client is very much like you in your coaching. If you're a coach, I do find that a lot of people speak to the person they were, before they had the transformation. So it shouldn't be that much of a stretch. Yeah, so be clear, talk to one, learn the skills if you need help with that. And then this is more of the mindset piece. Sometimes it helps if you're about to speak and talk about your offers and talk about your business. Of course, know your material, make sure it's clear, and then visualize it. Like, do a little 5 minutes before you go live to imagine, who is the woman, right? I know you and I are both connected through Jillian Murphy, and she has this movement, which is the Be Her Now movement. And if this is new for you and you're starting to speak, who is that woman? Like, what does she look like when she walks into a room? How does she carry herself? How does she sit? How does she stand? How does she speak? Because confidence, sometimes I say you can like step into it, like you're putting on your costume. I'm a theater background. You put on your costume of that person, but the more you keep putting it on, the more you keep putting it on, eventually it'll just melt to your body and that'll be your new you. But first it has to start in the mind. Like, how does she talk? How does she carry herself? How does she make people feel when she talks? And start to imagine that person and embody it. And the more you practice that, the more it will, like muscle memory, it'll just become you. Be her now. And then this is really basic, like practice. Like once you get clear on your brand values and you get clear on all of these great ways that are just going to help you speak to your audience even better, even more authentically and with more authority, practice saying it in the shower, when you're driving, record yourself. Because again, it's one thing to write it on paper, but then how does it feel when you say it? If there is any kind of like resistance when you say it, maybe that's not it. And I know I worked on that unique value proposition so I've reworded it, I help blank do blank so they can blank. I have redone that like 100 times. And sometimes I'm like, oh, this is a really good word. I'm going to use this, like impact driven. And then I'm just like, that's not, when I go to say it out loud, it doesn't feel like me. So practice saying the words, even practice with a friend, record yourself and watch it. Okay. And then, yeah, so all of that, see how it feels, see how it flows, and then see how it sounds. And the more you can record yourself and watch yourself, even if you don't post it, you just record it on your phone, do a little practice run through, watch yourself and see how does it feel, how does it sound, and how does it look. Sometimes I'll even say like turn off the audio and just watch yourself. And then don't watch yourself and just listen, right? So you can get a sense of all the moving parts. And the more clear you get, the more you do this back work behind the scenes, I truly believe the easier it'll be to speak about it. Because you won't be having to add all these fluffy things. You know, sometimes I think we want to overgive. And then we're like, wait, where was I going with this? What was my point?
I love that you stress the importance of practice, because I feel like so many people, they just try to avoid practice. Like they will do everything else they can do but practice. And I wonder, like, I mean, you're way more of an expert on this than I am, but I wonder if people think that because they have to practice something, they're not good at something, and they don't want to feel like they're not good at something. And I can speak for myself and say, like, I've definitely felt that way. Like, oh, if I have to go practice this, like, I must not be very good at it, you know? But practice truly, like, changes so much, and it just helps you refine and elevate and really get to that and build that confidence so much.
Yeah, I used to work with older adults, and there was this man that I just loved. He was a professional violinist as like his career. And so we would talk a lot about music, and he used to say this phrase, and it was amateurs practice so that they get it right, and professionals practice so that they can't get it wrong. So don't think of it as, oh, I must be bad, but think of it as like, I'm a professional. I'm practicing because I want to be awesome. Like, I don't just want to be okay. I want to make sure I don't ever get it wrong. And of course, we're human beings, like that's impossible. But if you go in with that mentality, right, you're just always going to get better. Practice makes progress, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny that you brought up the violin, because something else I was also thinking when you were talking is that also, like, if you make a mistake, like, chances are, like, you're the only person who's going to know you made a mistake. And we were teaching, I have a niece who's 11, and she's playing the violin. And every time she would, like, miss a note, she would, like, get upset and, like, throw her hands up in the air and, like, have to start all over. And we're just like, hey, like, just keep going. Like, nobody's going to know that you missed a note or you played the wrong one. Like, if you just keep going and stay on the course and stay committed to the final outcome, like, the only person who's probably going to know that you messed up is you. And the things that feel like the end of the world, that when we mess up, especially when we're speaking, like, nobody knows exactly how you're going to deliver your speech or how you're going to say your pitch. And we have the power to course correct and get back on track. And that's also really important too.
Yeah. And that goes back to like really knowing your material so inside and out, so that because things are going to come up, right? Your internet's going to be choppy. Someone's going to walk in the room. Someone's going to start sneezing at the most if you're in a live talk or something. But when you know your material, you can course redirect yourself and always come back to that anchor, and you've built the foundation. You've done the work behind the scenes. So if there is one last message out that you want to share, now is your chance. Everyone, I hope you have enjoyed this. Thank you, Lavon, for being here, and Crystal, and all of you who are going to watch the replay. Please let us know what your biggest takeaway is. Anything else, Val, you want to say?
Just, set aside 15, 20 minutes later tonight or tomorrow and pick one of these questions that I might have posed, or go visit that blog post and pick a question, and just really, like, commit to reflecting and journaling. And I promise you, like, 15 to 20 minutes of focused thought is going to be so much more productive than wondering about something and for the next 48 hours or the next week or the next month. So really, like, I know it might feel overwhelming to go and reflect on all these things, but seriously, like 15 to 20 minutes, really be intentional about it, and the time is going to fly, and you're going to accomplish these tasks a lot faster than you thought you would.
Mm, thank you so much. That's so true. Like, make the effort now. It'll help you in the long run. And so what do you have going on? Thank you so much for your time. Honestly, this was so, so, so valuable. You guys definitely go check out her blog, but what else can people do to come hang out with you and work deeper with you?
Yeah. Well, you can find me on Instagram. I love to hang out over there. I'm at Val Casola Writes. You can visit me on my website at valcasola.com. I'm always publishing blog articles there to teach you how to be a better copywriter for your business. I also have a weekly email newsletter where I teach you the same thing, how to be a better copywriter for your business. And I'm actually starting a new series where I audit my audience's copy. So if you want to be a part of that, if you want to get my eyes on your copy for free, then hop on over to my email list and there'll be a link you can sign up with. And yeah, if this conversation about creating your brand messaging framework has intrigued you, and you know, maybe you don't have the time to do it yourself, or you want to work with a copywriter who's going to push you to ask those right questions and push you to really reflect on them. This is something that I do in my studio. A brand messaging and voice guide is complementary with all of my website copy projects, but you can also purchase it as a standalone service, and you get the same questionnaire that I send to my website copy clients. We brain dump your entire business, and then I help you put it all together in this beautiful guide where you can, use that to reference anytime you're writing copy for your business, whether it's your website, a social media post, an email. Maybe you're crafting a bio for a speaking opportunity or a podcast pitch. Or it's also a great resource to hand over to a team member who's going to be writing for you in the future, so they have everything they need to know about how to write for your brand. I do, sell those guides separately. So if that interests you and you want to learn more, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram or send me an email, and I'm happy to chat with you more about it.
Yeah, that guide looks so awesome. Awesome. And so, yeah, just to be clear, Val, we don't need to have a website to work with a copywriter. It can be for your sales page, your Instagram, even just your posts, right, that you're doing on social media. If you want them to be more consistent too, I think that's a big part of it. You want to be consistent. You want to keep repeating those stories. Well, thank you so much. Lavon says replay will be even more reinforcing. We appreciate you both. Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, everyone, go ahead and follow Val and drop your questions if you have them, and go forward and do some work. Don't just listen to us. Take action. Take action and share it with us and let us know how it's going. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the Speaking and Storytelling Podcast. Now, I'd love to hear your voice. What's one thing you learned from today's episode? How did it inspire you? And how will you take action today? You can let me know by leaving a review or visit me on Instagram at Emanuela.hall. My friend, remember that you were born for such a time as this. So get out there and fearlessly share your unique God-given voice, because it just might be the thing that changes the world.